Questions? Did I hear right? I kind of just got it. Yeah, my question. I've got these terms that I've heard over the 8 years of me dancing. What is your guys' definition of leverage, counterbalance, and stretch? What are the differences?
You want to address that, or shall I address it first?
Okay. Counterbalance and leverage. Counterbalance is as you are leveraging. Counterbalance is when you are actually using part of your partner's weight to support your own, or your partner supporting part of your weight, you're supporting part of their weight. Leverage is the position of the bodies is the farthest away you can go without counterbalancing. So leveraging is that moving away from the central point to your both at the back of your position. Yeah, remember we talked about your space. So you have 3 positions of space and movement. Over the balls of your feet, which is your power point. Behind the balls of your feet, which is that grooving place where where you're centered. Yeah. The power point is where we move from. That's where we're the most agile. We have the most control and the most agility. And then the front to the middle of your heel is your leverage point. But you still control your own body weight. So when you're both at that point, just before you counterbalance, you're at leverage. Yes?
And what about stretch?
Stretch is, for me, stretch is in your own body. So to me, stretch is what's called suspension. And what I'm doing is I'm always stretching against my own movement to create tone and control of my own self.
Damon?
Yeah, well, those are pretty much the same way that I use this. The one difference that I have is in stretch. I think of it as an elongation within my own body. So I can have my arm out just like any look. This as far as it goes, except when I stretch, I'm really getting it to go to its furthest reach, using the muscles in themselves to further extend the line.
But it's still stretching in your own body.
Yeah, it's really just a slightly different way of thinking about it, but I think it's not talking about the exact same thing. It's an internal idea. And I use leverage and counterbalance in the exact same way.
Against every movement, we have to stretch against our own position of movement. From where I move from to where I move to, I want to stretch or suspend my action in my own body. To be pushing off the driving point onto the new step, I need to be stretching in my own body. To me, that's stretch or suspension of movement. So I have control over every piece of it.
Great, thank you.
Can I?
Before
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering, before we go into more technicalities about dance, if we could have like a little bit of background with you guys and just tell us a little bit about your family histories and your involvement in these dance and the dance world.
Feels like I've told this story like a million times.
But we never get tired of it.
I've never heard it. Some people haven't heard it.
I grew up listening to blues and jazz and soul music. It's just what my parents played, my grandparents played. My grandparents used to babysit once a week, forever and a day. And when I was 6 years old, you're getting the actual story. When I was 6 years old, I was watching a Tex Avery cartoon. He's a cartoonist from like the late 40s, early 50s. It was a Red Riding Hood episode, and she kept singing me this song called 5 O'Clock Whistle. And she sang it repeatedly throughout this short. And it was over, I started dancing around the house, singing the song, going from the room that I was in to the kitchen to get myself a snack. My grandmother's in there doing whatever grandmother's doing. She was making something tasty, for sure. And she stopped when she heard me singing the song. I mean, this is a song from the 30s. And she wanted to know where I had heard the song from. And I told her, from a cartoon, Red Riding Hood was singing. And she asked me if I knew what it meant. I'm like, yeah, there's a girl, and she's sad because her dad didn't come home last night because the whistle that says it's time to go home and stop working, like on the Flintstones, was broken. That's not what that song is about. I don't know if you've heard it, but Ella Fitzgerald is pretty much the one who's known for doing it. It's about a guy who cheats on his wife, and reason why he didn't come home last night is because the 5 o'clock whistle didn't blow. So he stayed all night at work, working. But it's sung from the perspective of his daughter. So it's really kind of messed up. It's jazz, yay! And so once she was assured that, I in fact had not been completely corrupted by, television, she wanted to know if I wanted to know how they used to dance that kind of music. And so that became the beginning of what was probably, well, at the time it seemed like, hours and hours, but, thinking about it now as an adult, it was probably maybe 45 minutes. But her teaching me, vernacular jazz and blues solo dances. And then that sort of became a regular thing. Every week that I went there to be, babysat, I was taught new dances and new dance steps. And eventually I got old enough. It was like, go dance with grandma at like family reunions and Thanksgiving and Christmas and, relatives' birthday parties. And dancing was just what the old folks did. I was like 8 or 9, so if you were like over 14, you were old as far as I was concerned. And so I started learning the partnered aspects of it. Sometime around 94 or so, I got really serious about teaching this stuff. And I just had people constantly asking, well, will you teach us how to do that dance that you do when the swing music slows down? Yeah, sure. Well, I started telling my relatives that people wanted me to teach them this, and they're like, why would anybody want to be taught this? You just go out and you dance to it. I'm like, Grandma, most people don't grow up just social dancing, like it's partner dancing. It's not a normal thing outside of, Black families, Latino families of a certain age. So she's like, okay, then my great uncle's like, but if we're going to teach you this, we're going to teach you right. And that sort of became my journey of learning the academic side of it, as well as just the having grown up doing this social.
Background, pretty much the same. I remember dancing with my grandfather when I was 3. His feet doing blues. Come on, boy, by the time I was 9, my mother taught me swing, rumba, trot, and balboa. And I was her date. My mom used to be in these ladies' social clubs, and they'd have these dances once in a while. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these dances. And I put on my little coat untied, my little suit. I go dance with my mom, trotting around the floor, having a great time. My granddaddy was a blues boy. My mother was a jitterbug girl. She was big, and then I learned jitterbug from her. And my dad loved the classics. He was a jazz guy. He really liked Dinah Shore, Dinah Washington. You had Jimmy Smith, the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So around my house, it was like whoever got to the record player first, that's what you listened to, right? But you heard it all, because my mom and my dad didn't live together. My grandparents lived with my father. So at my grandparents' house, which I grew up with my grandfather mostly, teaching me blues, talking about blues music during those days of he was the son of a slave. So they passed stuff along by word of mouth. It was about sitting down talking to your family. Fathers talk to sons, grandfathers talk to grandsons. That's the way it was done. So I spent a whole lot of Sunday afternoons playing checkers, drinking beer, talking church with my granddad. And talking about, dance and blues music, talking about slavery, talking about, life, talking about integrating yourself in the community. All the things that you want to know as a man, you have to learn from, hopefully, from another man somewhere along the line that has his head on his shoulders, So that's my introduction to dancing. I went through high school. I started when I was 12. This is when I was in Grand Rapids, and I moved to Detroit when I was about 12 years old. And my mother had record stores in the 60s with the advent of Motown. So my mother had to start on the southwest side and the northwest side. And I used to, 2 days a week, I would take the bus over to the northwest side because we lived in southwest Detroit. And so all day long, I was either in school or in the record store playing sports, but after that, come to the record store to sell records. Right? You sell albums, you talk music. That's all you did, that's all I did. So I would bus over to the northwest side, and I got off early one time. I stopped and walked up a different street, and I could hear drums playing. And this guy was teaching this big, huge open warehouse space with all the doors open. And he was teaching Afro jazz. And there was 12 girls in tights. A little gay boy. And I was like, I can do that. So, yeah, the tights did got me. So I started taking, it's true. So I started my formal training at 12. I started doing Afro jazz at 12. I had to do jazz with him. I did a bit of tap. I had to take ballet as a form of reference for the bass training. And I went through that until my high school days ended. I went away to college. I have a degree in engineering, electrical engineering. Came back, got married. That didn't work out so well. Started dancing again. Taking jazz classes all over the city, and then all over the state, then all over the country. Getting hired to do shows, doing stuff. I started traveling around, doing dinner theater, doing the cruise ships out of Florida for a while, and did a bunch of things performance-wise, and kept training in jazz and in ballet, because most of these places they require you to take that as a training. I started doing ballroom dancing because I realized that one day my body was going to fail me doing knee drops and split knees. And I started doing ballroom training because I could go anywhere in the country and get a job. If you're a guy and you can dance, you walk into any Art Murray studios anywhere, the next day, right? The next day you're working. You could be making money. Pretty much, right? So anywhere I would go, if I went to do a job, like to get a theater job or something and it didn't work out, I would just go to the Murray studio down the street and get a job. And this is really cool. So I started working on my ballroom training, doing that job. I owned a studio for 10 years, and I did all the dance styles there, ballet, tap, and jazz. I have certifications up to kazoo, almost every style that I ever really concentrated on. I have the highest certifications you could possibly get. In Art Murray, I went through the Gold Bar, which is their top, and then all the jazz agencies. I have a master's in jazz choreography from 4 different agencies. So I spent my time as a professional. I've been a professional dancer for 36 years. I have not had another job in that time. This is what I do. This is my life. I spent my entire life studying, performing, training people how to dance. And here I am. So blues is my coming home, kind of. Right, I started with blues, and I started with Lindy, doing jitterbug and Lindy, actually doing jitterbug and doing trot and all this stuff as a kid. And then I went and I learned how to formally dance, become a dancer, okay, professional dancer. And then blues brought me back home. It was kind of like that full circle that I've been waiting for. You know what I mean? The connection to my roots, my family, my tradition, all those things are very important to me. That's why I'm back in the blues community. There's many validity to that.
I laughed as he was going through because our paths are so similar. I was also 12 and went to a recital for, I think it was ballet that my sister was in. She was 4 years younger than me, and then saw the one girl that I had the biggest crush on in my junior high. And she was the teacher's aide for that class, and I'm taking dance. I already know how to dance. I can hop in here. There are no boys in here. I can do this. She and I would have a connection, and so I actually the very next week signed up. It was actually vernacular jazz, which is just first cousins with Afro jazz. It's just it's the parallels. I have done ballroom training. I've done all that stuff, and I came right around full circle after having taught Viennese waltz.